Madam Speaker, 3 years before we won our freedom, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose gave a speech to the faculty and students of the University of Tokyo on the fundamental problems of India. In the course of his wide-ranging address, he identified 3 priorities for free India. 1, the organization of our national defense. 2, the removal of poverty. And 3, the provision of education for the Indian masses. 70 years after independence, these areas continue to demand our urgent attention. The challenge for any finance minister is to strike just the right balance between the imperative of defense and the need for development in allocating the resources of the state. In recent years, we have come to appreciate that national security is a far broader concept than a purely military-oriented definition might suggest. Public investment in a healthy and well-educated populace can be seen as a contribution to our nation's security. The defense budget, therefore, is simply the most direct aspect of fiscal planning for a safe national environment. Viewed in this light, the Finance Minister has provided a reasonable sum of rupees 2,74,114 crores for defense expenditure, excluding pensions. We can only speculate whether Shri Arun Jaitley would have been more generous to himself than he was to Shri Manohar Parrikar. But be that as it may, the defense budget in our country is the 4th largest in the world, after the United States, China, and the United Kingdom. There have been steady, moderate increases in spending on defense during the last 3 years. The current ratio of defense expenditure to GDP of 2.14% is higher than the cap of 1.76% that had been proposed by the 13th Finance Commission. Even though the total allocation for defense may seem adequate, a disaggregation of the amount by revenue and capital expenditure shows there is cause for grave concern. The ratio of revenue to capital expenditure has gone up to as much as 68.4% in the budgeted estimate for 2017-2018, by comparison with the already high 64.6% in 2015-2016 and 65.3% in 2016-2017. With personnel costs, Madam Speaker, swallowing up more than 2/3 of the defense expenditure, precious little is left for the modernization of our armed forces with state-of-the-art technology and equipment. In fact, the overall modernization budget, or what is called the capital procurement budget, has gone down this year. The Army has seen a decline of approximately 6.4% and the Navy of as much as 12.1%, despite what my friend from the Treasury benches said just now. The increase in the Air Force's budget by about 12.1% is accounted for by a handful of gigantic contracts to acquire Rafale fighters and Apache attack and Chinook heavy lift helicopters. Madam Speaker, I am especially dismayed by the cut in the Navy's modernization budget. The Indian Ocean interregional arena is of vital strategic importance to our country. The protection of the sea lanes traversing the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal is essential if we are to secure our economic future as part of an Asian resurgence in the 21st century. I am aware that the acquisition of 6 more conventional submarines was authorized last year under Project 75I. These are being built in India with foreign collaboration. The first of the Scorpini-class submarines, Kalavari, has gone through its sea trial. but we need to do much more. Our strategic vision on power dynamics in the Indian Ocean must guide our strategic investment in our Navy. The strong case for our increasing capital expenditure on the latest military equipment is unfortunately undermined by the sorry record of underutilization by the Ministry of Defence of allotted funds. It is most unfortunate that the Ministry of Defence returned more than rupees 13,000 crore under the capital head in 2015-2016 and about rupees 7,000 crore in 2016-2017. Now that the Finance Minister is once again the Defence Minister as well, I hope he will take necessary steps to make the Defence Ministry more efficient in utilizing capital funds. The question of capital expenditure leads me to consider the matter of defence production. Despite the fanfare surrounding Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India slogan, it unfortunately remains just that, an empty slogan with no strategy for implementation. In the same speech given by Subhash Chandra Bose that I quoted at the outset, he went on to say, "The moment India is free, the most important problem will be the organizing of our national defense in order to safeguard our freedom in the future. For that, we shall have to build up modern war industries so that we may produce the arms that we shall need for self-defense." I would emphasize, so that we may produce the arms we shall need for self-defense. This will mean a very big program for industrialization. 7 decades after independence, our defense requirements are heavily reliant on imports. The burden of a spiraling import bill has been made more onerous in the last 3 years because of the declining value of the rupee in relation to the dollar. I would like to ask the Finance Minister, he is not present here today, but I hope he will be listening and you are taking notes. I would like to ask him why in his budget he has not given any special incentives to defence production within India in support of the Prime Minister's Make in India program. What are his reasons for not giving infrastructure status to the more crucial sectors of our defence industry? Is there any plan at all to provide more jobs for our youth in defence-related manufacturing? In December 2015, our Prime Minister had given a very significant speech to our Army, Navy and Air Commanders in which he spoke of the need for a new approach for our armed forces, one that would give emphasis to new technology instead of blindly increasing the size of the forces. Has the government any intention of moving in that direction and thereby improving the ratio of capital to revenue expenditure? China, Madam Speaker, reduced its military manpower from 4.9 million in the mid-1990s to 2.3 million 2 decades later. I know that a drastic reduction is not possible in our country, so long as this government presides over and is complacently satisfied with jobless growth. An employment-oriented economic strategy, including jobs in defence production, is a necessary condition for military modernization. Madam Speaker, any discussion of our military cannot be limited to dry economic statistics. The people of our country feel an emotional bond with our armed forces. We mourn as a nation when the bodies of our martyred Jawans are brought back to their home villages in different parts of the country. Our hearts are filled with pride when we see our soldiers marching to the tune of Kadam Kadam Badhaya Ja. Our political leadership must do their best not to impose impossible internal security tasks on our military so that our soldiers can focus on defending our borders. My friend from the BJP almost handed over some territory to our neighboring country. I thought we had only crossed the line of control for the surgical strike. We don't consider that to be Pakistan territory. When we send our soldiers to face the icy winds on the Siachen Glacier, it is incumbent on us to give them the best protective gear to withstand the elements of nature. We cannot be miserly when it comes to bulletproof jackets or night vision equipment for our soldiers working in the most difficult terrain in the world. I feel, Madam Speaker, very sad to note that this government seems to have had very great difficulty since 2014 in finding a capable and dedicated full-time defense minister. I urge the Prime Minister to give the country a Raksha Mantri whose predilection for Goan delicacies is less important than providing nutritious food to our Jawans. I urge the Prime Minister to give our country a Raksha Mantri who deems the proud responsibility of organizing our national defense to be more important than power at any cost in a small state of our great Indian Union. Madam Speaker, we on this side of the House, too, have a dream for a new India by 2022. I dream that India will be the most vibrant economy in the world, with our citizens enjoying universal access to education and healthcare. I dream that India will be home to 20 of the world's top 100 universities, attracting the finest faculty and students from all over the world. An overarching Indian identity will coexist with multiple identities of our diverse population. That identity will be most powerfully articulated through the medium of our music, to whose rhythm the entire country will dance. We will celebrate and respect our differences to rise above them. To realize that dream of a prosperous and harmonious India, we need peace. To ensure peace, we require intelligent and resolute defense preparedness, setting aside all temptations to be jingoistic. There are many weapons that we have to acquire, but we cannot use most of them. To build a new India by the 75th anniversary of our independence, we will have to integrate our defense policy with a grand strategic vision based on a broad and imaginative definition of what constitutes genuine national security.
Yes.
That is the challenge before us, Madam Speaker,
Yes.
and so let us together rise to that challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very right in time.